the letters, numbers, my name, and everything, gave it to me for Christmas. So she's always had a passion for teaching. She's been doing it for 30 years, and now she's a teacher at Gorman. She's the English teacher, but she does a lot of extracurricular clubs and leadership programs and things. So she put this little presentation together, and it's about reflecting in your teaching or your job itself. It can be how you looked at what you've done that day, or how you can look back on it and maybe improve or do things differently for the next time. So based on your cue, you're going to find your group. So there's 4 different colors. Find your group. You can move the tables. You can sit in a circle with your chairs. So maybe a leader could be like, red team over here or whatever. So get in your group. There's white, red, pink, and black. This stays. Okay. This might take a long time. You're all going to get input. So you're opening your book to the first page. Okay, so you're reading that question.
I could turn it.
What do you know about the clients that you're working with? Maybe it's at the front desk, the athletes you're working with, whether it's preschool or teenagers or whatever, or if you're working with a staff member, maybe that day on a rotation, what do you know about that person you're going to be working with before you go into it? So for 2 minutes, you're going to write anything that you can think of silently. You cannot talk. So ready, set, go. 2 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, if every one person can write one thing, each person could write one thing personally, that'd be good. Or you can read it like, then you don't have to talk. But 2 minutes. What you're teaching that day, the people you work with that day, what do you know about them? Like, for example, my presentation, I know that I'm probably going to be talking to mostly adults. I know most of them are somehow connected to gymnastics, tumbling, cheer, or dance. That's what I know going into this presentation, right? Okay, so now you're going to do it based off your job, whether it's the front desk, coaching, maybe you're a helper on a class, whatever you do. What is your job, and what do you know before you walk into work that day about what your client, your athlete, your coworker?
Wow. One thing you know about kids. Parents or coworkers.
It's the first question. Okay, has everybody kind of gotten a chance to write?
No.
No, not yet.
Okay.
And two people write at once.
Yeah, there's a pack. Yeah, you guys can write more than one person at a time. Take turns. Okay, even if you're still writing, that's okay. So then based off what you wrote, what decisions do you make because of your answer? Like if I work the front desk and I know on Monday there's a family that comes in and they speak no English, they speak Spanish. So what decision do I make going into Monday? Like maybe I have a kid or another staff member that can help me translate for them, whatever. So based off that, this is a discussion now. So you discuss this with your group. Based on your answer, how would you approach whatever you're working with that day or that class, or it's a discussion. I want to hear you talking amongst each other. I know. I know. Oh, I did not know this. I just was guessing.
Going against a bread.
Like for me, I like, if somebody, if I'm talking to somebody, then I'm, so for me, when I'm dealing with somebody, new, I do my best or in class, I try to get on their level and look at behind before I start. So like, like your kids and like fun and everything. Like they're dog gets you what? Your own things, but you're not sure he's really. So yeah.
With the like little trail experience and like they're like no experience, it can be that you're coming into the game client to open. That's one thing that I all my
Okay, about one more minute on this one.
Yes, I'm right there. No, getting one point of getting back to like dealing with people that are kids. They can't be on their level and they're you kids do a lot they don't want to speak, but maybe they have time or they can see it and you can say you or dialogue starts. It doesn't have to be verbal. to because we're in a gym, they can be physical, they can be show me something, show me what animal. Something, so then they start right away. I talk at you.
Okay, we're just gonna go by each group, so, can you guys tell me one of the things that you know going into a class that you think about every day? And then one example of how you, so we'll start over here. Can you guys pick one of your examples of things you know about what you do? Like who you're working with, your client, your athlete, your coworker. One of the things you knew. And then the second question was, what decisions you make based off that? So you're just gonna share one and one.
Out loud right now, or just?
Yeah, out loud, like
Oh.
to share.
We were talking about parents and kids need to feel listened to. So, Addie was pointing out for kids, you can get down on their level, make sure you're eye contact, even with parents at the front desk. Make sure you're focusing on them, you're not distracted, and you're really listening to what they say and trying to help them.
Okay.
For us, what we said is that they might have little to no experience slash like they're children. But for the little to no experience one, it can apply to both the customers and the athletes themselves. So for the athletes, it's important as a coach to come in understanding that there could be some kids that aren't gonna have any idea if you have trials or anything like that. So I specifically try to plan my week out to make it easier for newcomers and easier for the kids I do have. And for the customers, one of our members said that some of the parents might want something specifically out of their kid when they get here, but they don't know. They don't know about gymnastics or ninja class or whatever, and so it's just not in line. And one thing you can do about that is just to be compassionate, understanding, and explain, like, I understand what you're saying, but this might be a little bit difficult or something like that.
Okay.
Like walking into the gym, everyone, parents, coaches, kids should know boundaries and rules. So like I teach a lot of camp, so if you don't explain the open gym rules, like right off the bat, it's hard to bring them back in at any point. That goes for classes as well.
Right.
So being aware of the rules and boundaries and letting coaches and parents know, or not coaches and parents, but parents and kids know right off the bat, before anything gets out of hand is super beneficial.
Okay. And the last group.
Alright. So mine's a little different than everybody else's, so I put that I know I will respond to many text messages from parents during the exam at program director, so. Then I know I need to communicate to my staff what I said to those parents, or like if there's a schedule change or something like that, so that my whole staff knows what's going on. And that's.
Okay. Great. Yeah, I had I kind of like brainstormed just from my thing, like if I'm teaching a green or probably any preschool level, there's a chance there's a kid coming in there that has no idea anything about gymnastics. So you're going to have to try to incorporate teaching them as well as keeping the other kids motivated or entertained or excited about what they're doing while you're still teaching somebody brand new. Knowing sometimes what kids are going through at home, like especially if you're teaching a team level or a kid that comes more than a week, maybe they're having an issue because there's something else going on, and kind of just knowing that about, oh gosh, today is the day Susie comes and I know she's having a rough time at home. Her parents are going through something, and so she's going to need a little more attention than the others. And just knowing that and preparing for that class, like knowing that, higher team level fears or things like that, you kind of have to take into consideration when you're preparing for that day of work, right? And just kind of understand, get on that level, like you guys said, what do they need from me to make sure this is a successful class? All right, so we're gonna go to the next page in your book. All right, so this is what do you know about what you teach or what you do or what you coach? What do you know? And I'll give you the examples I came up with. I'm sure you guys have way better ones. Safety. What I'm teaching, is it safe for this level or this mentality of these kids? I'm not going to teach preschoolers to do back handsprings because it's not safe, right? Do I know skill progression for the level I'm teaching? You know, am I doing the right skills for that level? Am I sometimes just going to be listening and a therapist for them for this class because they need that? Or and do I know milestones for kids? If I'm teaching preschool, do I know milestones and where these kids should be at what age? Am I expecting too much from a 2-year-old? Or is this correct milestone? Okay, so go ahead and you're silent 2 minutes. You guys can write 2 people, 3 people at a time.
Yeah.
Okay, and now you're discussing that same question, but I'm gonna add a second question. So the first question is, what decisions do you make based off the answer? You know what you're doing, or what your job is. Now, what are you gonna plan for your class? Then the second question is, what success have you had based off that decision? No, this is your discussion. Yeah, you're just discussing these, you don't, writing it.
You go first. So, when I get part of it is, no, I see that. That's jumping down.
I said how to make fun. I feel like there is a lot of rules. I love everybody here not. Making sure that everybody is able to say yes. But how I do that in a way that I think is best, that makes it fun. Instead of being like,
No.
I reach out and text me.
You're down. Yep.
But I try to just give them a lot of energy so they have their experience. Going all this stuff and they're like, but that's not how you're totally like personality. It's not right. It's not really right now. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, right now, I feel like that.
All right, are we ready to share our, maybe we'll start over here this time? Over here. You can just pick one of your little.
I wrote, though my bar for success is very high, I must first set the bar very low for the children to feel success immediately.
Okay, and then your decision based off that, knowing that. So you know you're gonna start your bar really low. Now you're gonna make a decision of based off that.
Involving like a maybe a really simple station or a long run of reps, I don't know, things like that.
That's really
If
important.
there's any like suggestions as well.
That's really important. We were doing this 3 hurdle drill and Missy had it at our old closest setting, but it was still too far. And then they're scared of it and then they don't go for it. I said, you should just start it as close as they'll do it and then inch it back. It's so much better than starting it where you should be able to do it. Doesn't matter.
Okay, and then by, lowering your standard to start with and then setting up basic stations, what success have you had by doing that?
The kids, they feel like "Oh, I can do this, and then they want to push for that next challenge.
Right.
It's not like I can make 1,000 corrections for holding your body straight against the wall, but I realized that that's just not a good idea. It's just like, start with your feet far away from the wall, try to touch your back against the wall, and then it's basically the same thing, done a million different.
Right. But I feel like it makes it nobody's frustrated. You're happy
Yes.
because they could do the easiest thing and now they're ready for a challenge. They're happy because they feel successful, right?
Yeah, I feel like so like making so much progress.
Right.
Through the whole practice.
Right. And then sometimes I feel like they can do the challenges that maybe you thought they couldn't do because they felt confident and successful on the easier stuff. So that's great.
Yeah, in the higher levels, I like to do do the easy, one hard, and then make easy, and drill it, and then one hard. Because to do the thing that is mentally or physically taxing over and over and over, so if you're doing the really in the higher levels, like a cartwheel, you're gonna do a cartwheel over and over. But you're doing a Jaeger, something that's hard for you, you do the basics, a drill and something else, and then one Jaeger kind of thing. So really important to do that kind of circling. It helps them get confident.
Okay. This group here. I don't know what color. Oh, are you guys red? Pink. Okay, pink team.
Except that every kid learns differently, so I have a lot of kids that will learn visibly instead of audibly, so I'll have to be prepared to do the drill that I set up. Or maybe I'll have a kid that I know can do it and I'll be like, show. And then so then kids aren't like, I put my hands where and I put my feet where and I flip my body how, and they see it and they can like replicate it.
Okay.
So they can, and I've had a lot of success with it because sometimes when you just say it, they're like, okay, and then they like put it wrong, and then I get frustrated because they're not like, I don't think they're listening to me, but they just don't know what I'm talking about.
Right.
So if I show it or somebody else shows it, they're like, oh, it is possible, and I can just move my body in the way they move their body, and then it works.
Yeah, perfect. I like answered all the questions. Okay, back there. All right, Lisa.
We had discussed, personalities are different. I explained, because I work with the higher level kids, that sometimes when I can approach an assignment with a game, or even if it is like an amount and a number, with the different personalities, the kids can all react differently. Some are excited and just want to work, and some want to negotiate. So it's wherever they're going to be successful that day, allowing them to say like, oh, if I can get this many done in this number, can I do something? Sure, if you're going to work really, really hard, do it. But if also there are the kids that want to do the full assignment and see how quick they can get it done. So we just talked about doing that, and I do that often. Bars is my favorite event to coach. So bars, I have girls who have said what I just stated, like, can I do 3 clear hips to handstand in a row so then I can try 1 fly and redismount? Well, that's not the assignment, but if that's what's gonna make it work, let's do it. And I've noticed success with that and a more productive practice and my tech rate.
Perfect. All right. Lassie?
Okay, I wrote down, I know how to make things fun.
Okay.
I think that with a life, right, it gets a little too serious, and then when it gets too serious, you don't wanna do anything, you kind of just freeze out. So like finding ways to make it fun and meeting people with enthusiasm and, yeah, sorry, I was very.
That's good. Perfect. All right. Our next page. Go ahead and flip it. It's how do you manage, monitor the success, failure, progress of your clients, your staff. If you are like in a management position and you're managing something, how do you measure that? Like maybe you're not even in the gym, maybe you're just administrator. How do you manage like what the people that are kind of working under you, next to you, how their success is or what they need to work on? How do you figure that out? Is the main question that you're writing out. Sometimes in the gym, we use games, we give rewards. Maybe if you're a front desk, it would be numbers or enrollments, maybe would be how you measure success at the front desk. Things like that. We all know parents are measuring scores and places, which whatever, but how do you measure it?
Giving stars for.
Yep, go ahead and discuss, and then we're adding a third question this round. It's what changes could you make in the future because of the decisions you've made?
I know, and I saw it.
All right, are we ready? We're gonna start with the PC.
I wrote, feedback, and I gave an anecdote that one time this new coach just started, and she was coaching an introductory gymnastics class. And after the class was over, a mom came up to me and said that she liked their old coach, and that the new coach didn't spend as much time on her, and she just wanted to see more of that, so. After the day was over, I let the coach know this mom said that, maybe I could work on that next time. And then the next class, the mom came up to me and said she noticed a change.
Oh,
She appreciated me communicating with me.
Yay. Great, and that's great, like co-worker working together too.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, over here.
And every coach has got a complaint. I've had many myself. Even I know it's hard to believe.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I'm the recreational manager. So when I'm looking at my coaches, I'll communicate with them obviously and ask them how they're feeling, how do they think it's going? Observe them in their coaching and look at how their kids in their class, like how their gymnastics is looking like. Are they doing the proper lunges and techniques? Look at the stations that they're using, are their stations working, stuff like that. And then, other things you can look at is how their behavior is in the gym, how they're working with other coaches.
Okay. Okay, we'll go over to Blackie.
I already talked.
I'll talk about mine. I decided to talk to them and get to know them and how they're feeling, because a lot of the times their like success and failure is determined in their own brain. So it's good to get insight into what they're thinking so that maybe you can find a way to help them be more successful. So the example I made is like kids come in all the time with back tumbling fear, but you can't fix that if you don't know they're afraid of it in the first place. So that was one of mine, and so I do think it helps like getting to know the kids and talking to them about things that don't have anything to do with gymnastics, because it's probably something contributing outside of gymnastics. Or athletics in general, that's making them nervous about these things.
Yeah, relationship building. Again. Okay.
For me at least, like when teaching ninja, it has a lot of tricky moves, right? With all the kids, like based on transitions and stuff, there's always new ways that you can come out and use those transitions. The way I kind of monitor if they're really picking up what I'm teaching them is if they can use certain moves that I've taught them in transition and adapt them with different moves, and build more complex combo structures. And as soon as they can do that, then they always ask oh, what's the next thing? Can we change like where we put our foot? Like, can we change the landing stance? And then I'll go in and take some of that.
That's a really good point though, just on any level, is sequence. Like not just a forward roll, but forward roll, then cartwheel over the mat, then, something else, whatever. Try to do different things, sequence. That's good for trampoline, tumbling, and all preschool racks, everything.
All right, perfect.
Good.
Good. Okay. Next page. Okay, how do you use feedback and research to improve your work? So, asking questions, Cassie talked about that a lot. Like for me, that's if you have a good resource at your gym for what you're doing, try to ask questions. Watch others. Does anybody come in early or stay late and watch another class? Try and learn from another coach. Even if you're learning what not to do, you're still learning, right?
Oh, that's amazing.
And then looking up videos, articles on social media. Huh? It's this one and one more. And then there's like everybody together questions, but I think it'll be exactly.
Yeah, but I'll just go down right if it doesn't want to stop.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's
Sometimes right before we have your stuff, like, and like,
when I first started off, since I moved from Dallas to New York, I didn't really know how to implement so I think it's always a good idea to ask all it's always we do it's as the role we promote something in the process to see it not in the kids it so works really
Find out there's other donors. So I know it's a little bit late. It's hard to identify it, but I found it. I was there. Or even little girls sign off. Where it's like, you just have to say, that's what you talk about there, learn from it. So it makes you have to stick with that. Otherwise, you probably have something.
All right, we're gonna start. Is it red? White. Okay. Start at the white.
Good stuff.
We talked about, speaking to parents, and like using their feedback because talk about different leadership styles from like past mini congress, like maybe how we communicate with coaches, athletes, parents is different than say how the parent would communicate. So maybe they give you feedback and then you use that into your style just to adapt and learn. Maybe when you're seeing a kid talk to, certainly like, oh, I have to use maybe the orange leadership style versus my blue.
Okay.
We were talking about don't teach it to heart, use it as a chance to learn. We've definitely had our experiences, and if we've been coaching for years, we've had a mistake happen. And even if it's just a reminder, like, hey, don't do that again, you might like, even just taking your eyes off the kid will always find a way to hurt themselves.
Right.
So even just a reminder, personal experience, you can't take it to heart, you just have to promise yourself it's not gonna happen again.
Yeah. And the accidents are gonna happen like sometimes out of your control, right?
Yeah.
All right. And then Steve.
Instead of researching new ways to teach the like same skill a different way, we have a million drills on how to teach a back handspring, but sometimes, like we said before, and Riley said before, every kid learns differently. Sometimes you find that little magic gem on TikTok, a new drill for a back handspring, and it's like, oh my gosh, this could help this one kid with this specific thing that they're struggling with that all of these other drills could have achieved for them. So that's always super special.
Okay.
I like shadowing other coaches in downtime, just so I can see how different coaches approach, different skills and see how they do like different games and anything like that. If I learn anything new, I try it with my other kids and then like see how that works. Usually sometimes it's pretty good, but then sometimes I'll get different kids' reactions, so then I know, okay, maybe I have to try that, but I also love seeing what everyone else does, so I can kind of get new ideas and really expand.
That's great. I know that I, for years, had this method of how to teach certain skills and always worked. And then after COVID, it's like, that does not work. So I've had to be like really creative on how to teach things. Okay, so this is the last question, and then we'll have some like overall things at the end. This one is, how are you part of the learning community in your gym or in your department? How do you take the opportunities to learn or teach?
Guys, while you're doing that one, there is a thing with neuroscience and what the shorts, YouTube shorts and the social media scrolling and the quick attention span is doing to kids' brains. They literally cannot pay attention sometimes. Literally cannot focus on what you're saying. So if you get really mad at them because they didn't listen to you again, they can't sometimes. Their brains have been rewired. And there's a book called The Anxious Generation by Dr. Pete. I'm in the middle of it. It's freaking eye-opening. Really eye-opening. So we do have to adjust the teaching methods. You need to teach and you choose short.
Hey guys, I want some new voices. So if you've already spoken, make sure you have somebody new. And if you haven't written anything, try to write something at least this last time. The last question. So if you're up on the mat or on the side, stand up and get in there, get involved.
Yeah, good.
No, yeah, pretty much.
It's just whether it's have like it's like it's just my time and I cost and just like it's not I really like oh my gosh there's okay everybody other
All right, are we ready?
So we said shadow higher level classes or higher level students, and this could be everything from I'm with them in the class, like asking questions, to I'm standing in the shadows, literally watching the setup of the stations, and then later I might ask, like, hey Mika, I saw that station look really cool. Can you tell me what skills you were working on or what like the progression is here? Then I take that and I go, thank you for being part of my learning community.
All right, Bonnie.
So I'm like coaching training right now, so I try to whenever I'm shadowing a class, I try to pick up what other coaches are doing, like their learn or their methods, like if something's going wrong, like how they handle this situation, or I'll just ask questions in general, like, hey, like how did you learn the skills thing, or how long did it take you to learn these? So I'm just kind of asking questions.
Perfect, that's the best, yes. All right, and.
Oh, I was top 10. Okay,
Just observing other coaches, I work around a lot of amazing coaches and a lot of times I don't have difficulty, I just see what they're doing, it works for them. Just make it your own. And then, I have a lot, I do rec level, so they have a lot of things on TikTok and YouTube.
Right.
A lot of that stuff we have in our gym, so you can kind of just try to make it a little different for them, but it's the same thing.
Perfect. Yeah, also Instagram has a lot of pages that are great to follow. Okay, over here. Did you have something, Katie? No, Katie does.
Oh my gosh, yeah. No, I was saying that sometimes like I'll tap in another coach, like if they're on a break or something like that, or they're not doing anything, if I'm having like they're just not nailing something and the other kids are, I'm like, you just come in and just focus on doing this so that gives me attention to the other kids, but also they feel maybe they can hear it differently. Because whatever I'm doing is not really clicking. And so then they're falling behind things or whatever. And so then they feel like, oh, another coach told me, or I got to, that kind of thing. So it ends up being a positive on all fronts, but like, I do that a lot. Like, I'll be like, hey, could you come over to that? And like, questions are always, like, I'm never afraid to have.
Perfect. Okay.
I'm going to clinics always, so my boys get invited to camps, or not, I'm asked to clinician and things like that, so I'll participate in clinics. That's my way of giving back and sharing, my knowledge, with kids, whether it's a regional clinic or a national clinic. And then I'm also like in contact with tons of coaches when I'm at these clinics, if my kids are struggling with stuff. I'm brainstorming and going directly to coaches that have world-class athletes, national team athletes that are doing those skills, get my drills from them and get some insight. I don't just ask them their drills, I can introduce specific with like specifically what my kids are struggling with and get exact tools for it. So lots of just feedback and just working together with others. So pretty much on time with everybody else.
Yeah. My husband's a voice coach and he's Eastern European, so kind of thinks he knows most of everything. But every once in a while, he'll come home and be like, "What do you do when you guys have a kid like this?" And I'm like, "Oh, I feel so proud to answer a question from him." Okay, so we have 3 little things if you want to respond to these last questions, and then I have a few things I'm going to read, and then we're all done. Okay. Anybody have any like takeaways or things like, wow, I've never thought about this question when I go to work or when I teach my class or I'm working with a customer? Any takeaways from any of these questions? We all kind of.
What do you know about who you're working with? Like, I think we know, but I don't think we really might ever think about it and have that thing, but like,
Yeah.
subconsciously happens.
Yeah, I know, like, if I have to do these are my least favorite things to do in my coaching is a private lesson, open gym, and birthday parties. So I know I have to mentally prepare, like, private, I'm gonna really, like, prepare myself to get through this hour. Open gym, I am going to really try not to look bored, because open gym is very boring to me. Birthday, I'm gonna really work on being super excited. So mentally, I need to prepare like what I'm going into before I start that. Camp's kind of the same as birthday, like gotta be really fun and exciting, right? So just mentally preparing to go into your job for that day for what you know is gonna happen already. I know I have a crier in my Supercuts class. They always cry. It's not me. It's just that's who they are, and I'm gonna be ready to deal with this child that is definitely gonna cry. You know, and just being ready for that is a great way to approach your day. What is one change you can make in your job because of this reflection? Anybody?
I think that I could communicate more with like my coworkers. Like, I don't know, I do talk to them like a good amount, and like some of them will come up to me, but like I feel like I don't make the initiative enough to go up to them and ask those questions. So I think that I could do that more.
Yeah. Because you feel more comfortable, like if you have a relationship, to actually go ask the question. Also, you can kind of read that person, like, are they going to respond to this question, you know, this way or whatever. So if you don't know that person, it's really hard to go ask a question because you don't know how the reaction is going to be. Okay, what is one success you are most proud of? Getting out of bed in the morning? Sometimes.
In terms of coaching or just in general?
It could be anything.
Oh, it could be anything?
Share with us.
In this building sometime, and I'm still.
Yeah.
Right. Like stay happy and be nice to everyone from 9 to 9. That is the accomplishment, right?
That's a good.
Yeah, so that's hard for me, but maybe you have something else.
Having 2 jobs in summer.
Working 2 jobs, that's really hard, yeah. Anything else? Okay, there was so this whole presentation, when my sister told me, I was like, I don't get this at all. One thing I was like, I need to even look up like what is reflection. And I always think of Cassie's favorite Man in the Mirror song. So obviously that's like the obvious definition of reflection, but then the other one is relating to or characterizing by deep thoughts, like thinking about what you're doing, what you've done, and what you could do better, right? So those are the deep thoughts. And then I looked up just reflective coaching. It's a process where a coach helps an individual examine their experiences, actions, and thoughts to promote learning and growth. So that's like reflective coaching. And then I read like there's a link. I'll have Cassie send it out and Lauren in like one of the meetings. But it was like the teaching link. It was for teachers, but it was just like having high expectations from everyone and figuring out how to get all of them to your expectation. Not saying this kid is talented, they will get to my expectation, and this kid is not. But finding a way to get them to the expectation you have for them, even if it is high. So, you know, figuring out the best way to get them there. Okay, so that is all. Actually asked if we could clean up here, so we need like 55-ish chairs on that. And the tables, and then any chairs will go downstairs. Oh, okay. Yeah, she said this table was downstairs. Yeah, and all the cute. I'll put the bowl